Maybe you can help me to figure this out. You know, there was a couple of kind of people in the world. I'm reminded of a group of people who had a dream, and their dream was about a change in the system that governed their country. That they, the people, many of them that are speaking under this voice, are experiencing pain and suffering and treated like animals. But they had a vision that one day that things would change. And they had committed themselves to accept whatever you have to go through to get that change without giving in and yielding to the same evils that they were fighting against. Now that sounds like a good thing. I think most people would think that these people you don't have to worry about. And basically this expression is one that was reflected in the teaching of the scriptures, of the Bible. Some might call of Christianity. And all through the book of that teaching you have white people. I guess that was to represent white supremacy. Or, well, yes, white supremacy. And as a representative, they couldn't give you a picture of God, but they gave you a representation by giving you a picture of God's Son that happened to also be a representation of white supremacy. And so while you have the scripture talking about these kinds of conduct for people who are trying to hold true to the faith, and you got all these white people that's representative in the association with the scripture, which gives out a message to everyone that reads or studies. And you got even a picture of the Most High. So you put everybody in their position. You got those that are high, which got to be those that are associated closely with God, at least that look like him. And everybody else doesn't look like God, so they couldn't put themselves there, so they would be out of place there. And so whatever you are attached to, whatever a message is attached to you and taught to you, then that's what you come up believing and accepting. Now, if you switch that around, and not if you switch that around, just think about how things have changed. That was a group of people that I was just telling you about. Now here's another group of people. This group of people flip the message around. They advocate for alternatives. They advocate for lying, for deception, for stealing. They do things that causes racism and bigotry. And all of these things they accept. Because they use these tools on a vulnerable people as a means to getting themselves over the hump. Exploitation. Exploitation. Now, if you take the message, this doesn't seem to come from Scripture. In fact, it seems to be the result of going against the Scripture, according to the Scripture. And if you look at the voice that's articulating that message, but if you look at the biggest, loudest voice that's articulating that message, it just happens to be a white person. A white person. Just like the white person over talking about the stuff that produces the kindness and taking care and looking after. Here's a white person talking the opposite. Talking the opposite. And this message, my friends, is not a receptive message in the past. But now it is accepted by millions and millions And those that used to accept the message of the dream has dwindled. Now, here's another thing that's happening. Here they have put something that has been hidden in the book, especially the book they're talking about, not the Bible. They got all people of color. And they got Jesus, the Son of God, as a black person. Now, all of this ugliness has a black Jesus, but the voice is a white person. The same voice that's speaking for the other people. What does that say to you? Does that basically say that the ruler is white? I'm just asking. And the ruler have determined who is God and who is not. And everything still, out of all the fighting and all of the resistance, is said to be maintained with the ruler being a white supremacy. Now, when I say white supremacy, I can only think that I'm speaking where white people reign right now, where they've done their thing. Now, and that's what I'm speaking for, because I'm sure in Asian countries, the same thing has happened. In African countries, the same thing has happened. All over the world, where people are separately identified, the same thing has happened. Now, they might use different models, but they have the same outcomes, the same results. Pain and suffering, and some got it and some don't. And this is the way it's always going to be, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who you listen to about how much better, excuse me, their message, their guidance is for you than what you've been listening to. I don't care where you hear it from. I don't care where you hear it from. It's all a deception. Now, it starts as all a lie, but some of the people tell you that stuff and they really think it's true. So you don't want to just call them a lie, but it's deceptive. They can't offer you peace. That peace is authored by the same power that authored the creation of the earth. Because all of these people, every last one of them, are selfish. How many of them include all of the people in their expressions of love? And how many can see a vision that they can articulate not just to themselves, but to you as well, and yet you included in the picture? And yet, honest enough to say that it is not their vision, but it is a vision from the Almighty, evidenced by causing no pain or suffering to anyone, and yet it's a benefit to everybody else that wants to take of its wares. That's love. That's great. That's God. That's not me or you, but it's you or I getting out of the way. By choice. Not by somebody forcing us to, passing a law. Anyway, so in the world today, we have those that are on the side of the dream, and we have those that's on the side of the opposite. I want to call that death. But it is all about death. When we can see it, when we can see the full picture. You know, sometimes, you know, when you're watching something and the screen is half of it is covered, you can't really tell but it's moving back and it's spreading so you can't see the whole picture. And you might have thought it was something else on its earliest stage, but as it exposes itself, you can see, and then all of a sudden you get the whole picture exposed. You say, wow, I didn't know it was that. Well, this is what we are here doing today, learning about life, because we don't know it. When we know life, I'm not going to repeat it. You should know when you know it. Talk to you later.